In this problem, we're given a function and we want to find the value of each of the expressions. Our function is g of x is equal to x squared minus x. First problem is asking for g of negative 1. In our original expression, we are given g of x. Now we're asking to find g of negative 1. Notice instead of an x, we now have a negative 1, which means wherever we see an x, we're going to place a negative 1. And then notice I've placed my negative 1 inside of parentheses. That's very important when you have a negative number. You could plug this right into your calculator. You could also know that negative 1 squared is positive 1 because negative times a negative is positive. And then when you subtract a negative, that's the same thing as adding it. So g of negative 1 is 2. The next problem is we want to find x if g of x is equal to 6. So notice it is not worded in the same way as letter B. This is a completely different problem. Here's my g of x. Now we're not going to put 6 in for x, or else that would be g of 6. We want to know what value of x lets the equation equal 6. So we're going to substitute 6 in for g of x. Again, it says g of x is equal to 6. So where I see a g of x, I'm writing a 6. Now we have 6 is equal to x squared minus x. This is the quadratic equation. The largest degree of this equation is a square, or is a 2. So therefore, it's a quadratic equation. In order to solve a quadratic equation, you must first set it equal to 0. So we subtract our 6. And then we can either factor or use the quadratic formula. I have factored this equation for us to x minus 3 times x plus 2. Using our zero product property, we set each of these expressions equal to 0. And then we can solve by adding 3 and subtracting 2. So our answers here are 3 and negative 2.